Okay, Jay Croucher here with Grant Liffmann to talk about the Atlanta Hawks off-season, one that's close to your heart, Grant. And a Dyson Daniels jersey hangs over my shoulder as well, showing solidarity with the Great Barrier Thief. A great season overall for Atlanta, clearly, despite it ending in somewhat ignominious fashion, but very much overachieved after the Trae Young trade. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, one of the best stories of the season. Jalen Johnson ascends into an all NBA caliber player. Some other good stories littered throughout. CJ McCollum, fantastic pickup. My man Dyson Daniels had a shaky start, but really found himself towards the end of the season. Where do you think the Hawks view themselves right now? What do you expect from their offseason?
So it was an interesting season for Atlanta because the way they started the year versus the way they ended the year are kind of two different pathways going right now. Because first of all, the thing that will just be no matter what a positive season is the trade they made with New Orleans earlier in the offseason. That no matter what, like you could have had anything happen this season, that's a win right there. When they pulled off getting the unprotected best of NOLA and Milwaukee's first, they have a pretty much just under 30% chance of being a top 4 pick this year in a loaded draft because of that deal. So that's number one. Let's just put that out there. It's an overarching good job, Atlanta. They trade for Kristaps Porzingis and they signed Luke Kennard in the offseason. And that's to tie into, add some more shooting around Trae, do their thing, see how they add Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I was a huge fan of, and they get him to a deal that's just now looking back, and now they just won the most improved player and it just took a leap not out of nowhere, but like a lot of people didn't expect it to be like this. He's on an amazing deal, the mid-level deal for another couple of years. That was the strategy at first, was Nickeil coming off the bench, this and that, and they had to pivot real quick. Kristaps did not work out. The trade world just imploded, and it was just time to move on and start again. And what they did is they get off Trae Young for what pretty much was assumed as almost a salary dump when it happened. CJ McCollum coming back on and expiring. Good. CJ obviously is a good player. I'm not saying that, but like that was just kind of what it was. Just trying to clean the books up, get off Trae. Kristaps, they eventually trade away and try to reset with Jonathan Kuminga, and they get his team option going forward, which is over $24 million. And all of a sudden they just take off, right? They trade Luke Kennard to the Lakers, send out Vit Krejci. And the second half of the season was so interesting because they had one of the easier schedules like they can possibly have in the second season. But they also took advantage of that to a level that really got their momentum and got their confidence. And then like, you couldn't even just say it was because it was an easy schedule. They were playing really well. And I think it helped having that schedule because it really just kind of built up and built up and built up. And you saw a little bit of it to start the Knicks series of like this momentum, this new bravado, the way they play. But then at the end of the day, you also saw where they actually technically are at with the way the New York Knicks dominated them the second half of that series. So it's a very positive season for the Atlanta Hawks. Very positive. Where they go from here is going to be interesting because they did a really good job setting up the books. They have money. They have a little bit of space if they wanted to, but that means CJ's not coming back. That means they're limiting the team option for Jonathan Kuminga. They're going to try to figure out those two things, but they have some decisions to make. Like Jay, your boy Dyson Daniels, who really was my guy, but nice try trying to steal him.
Yeah, you can climb him. Yeah.
My guy Dyson Daniels. They got him to a really reasonable 4-year, $100 million deal for a guy that's so impactful everywhere. Outside shooting being the big question mark for him, but he just does so many things to make a team better. He's on a good deal. Jalen Johnson's on $30 million a year for all-star. He's an ascending player. They have all these good pieces, but they don't have a number one guy. And to win a championship in this league, it always feels like you need that guy. You need at least one of those guys. Yep. Can Jalen be that? I'm the biggest Jalen Johnson fan, but he's not that. He's a guy that will help you win a championship and can be one of your best players. But you need that guy, and they don't have that. And it's not going to be Zach Reese-Shea. I got to know Zach well. He was off the bench for most of the year, second half of the year, didn't play much. Zach is a very talented player. He's super young. I think he has a very bright future, but he's not a number one type guy. He's going to be a guy that makes a team better eventually, but they don't have that. And the hope is for them, Jay, is that this pick that's coming, if it falls the right way, could be that guy, but we will see.
7% chance at the number one pick for Atlanta. First of all, Dyson is my boy. I grew up 3 hours away from him on the other side of the planet. So I will claim him over whatever your stake is in Dyson Daniels. Secondly, I agree completely that right now it feels like, and look, we're judging Atlanta on a curve a little bit because they clearly had a great season. But when you're talking about them getting to the next level, everyone needs to be bumped down one spot in the pecking order. Jalen Johnson's probably a very good number 2. Nickeil is probably a very good number 3. Dyson Daniels, you probably want him to be your 4th best player if you have aspirations to win a title. And the irony is with Jalen Johnson is that, in theory, he's such a perfect fit with Trae Young because you get Jalen Johnson working in the short role, working off Trae Young's passing. Because Jalen Johnson, he was a little bit overtaxed as a number 1 guy. Give it to Jalen, top of the arc, and just let him go to work from the triple threat. That's not really his game. I think that, he can do a bit of that, but ultimately you want to set him up in advantage positions to go to work as opposed to just saying, Jalen, put the cape on, make everyone's life easier. So ultimately, the fact that they got this out of Nickeil and that he played Nickeil's final 2 months, he's playing an all NBA level. Guy's out of his mind. He's approaching like 70% true shooting while still being, an elite defender and guarding the likes of Jalen Brunson. So getting what they did out of him. And also Nickeil is young enough that you can expect this for a few years going forward, I think. Dyson is a really interesting one because as good as Dyson is, he's one of the best defenders in the league. The shooting limitations are clear, though Dyson made like 34% of his threes a year ago. So there is some scope for him to at least get back to taking those shots. But if you're in the Dyson Daniels business, you need a center who can shoot. Now they have that in Onyeka Okongwu. He is up for potentially a 3-year, $76 million extension. What do you think the Hawks end up doing with Okongwu?
Yeah, I think they want to keep him. I do. I mean, his ability to stretch the floor really blossomed, and he does a lot of good things. The problem is, at the end of the day, when you face a team like the New York Knicks, size matters. Yep. And the front court was an issue for them. And that's something that they will have to address. It didn't help that Jock Landale was hurt. Like that also exacerbated the whole thing. But like at the end of the day, one thing they're going to have to do is address that front court. And Onyeka can be there. Onyeka he had a really nice season. He fits well with the team. They all like him. He's a great guy. Like he does a lot of things well. But having said that, when Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu are your backline defense against guys driving hard or guys, big men over there, that's tough. That's not a great defensive unit right there. They do things well individually, but as a group, as those guys, it's not, because you have the elite defense with Nickeil and you have Dyson out there, right? They play at an elite level defensively on the perimeter. It's about shoring up that back end. I think he can be part of that, and Onyeka can definitely be part of that. It'll be interesting what happens with Risache as well, because he's a variable that they're going to have to figure out. Kuminga is just such a hot topic everywhere. You saw the flashes of what's good about him, and then you saw the flashes of why everyone in Golden State was freaking out about, is he good enough to be part of the core? They have things to figure out. The good news is they have a lot of ammo, draft assets. They're in a great spot financially. They have some pieces that can be moved. They can pick up Kuminga's team option and move him. They can re-sign CJ McCollum. What's that number at? They have to figure out Quinn Snyder's extension. They have to do all these different things. But having said all of that, they are in a great, great position. But Jay, as you said, how do you knock everyone down? How do you get that number one guy? That's the question for every front office ever. If you have to either get lucky and you trade for a guy that turns into an SGA turning into SGA, or you get a draft pick that you get a DeBonsa, you get one of these guys that maybe turns into something special. I do not think they're going to leverage all their assets and everything for a Giannis. That's not kind of their MO right now. But, you know, if they decide to switch that up, they could. But I think they want to get a young guy that could be the next big thing.
Yep. Okay, we'll leave it there on the Atlanta Hawks. Complicated season. They started the season with Luke Kennard on the team. Luke Kennard's bombing threes for the Lakers in the playoffs. They started the year with Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis. They ended closing games with CJ McCollum and Jonathan Kuminga in the Garden. So a tale of many different seasons for Atlanta this year. But future is fairly bright. Even if they don't have the number one guy, they have a lot of assets. They have a lot of youth. So things are looking up in Atlanta.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.